All right, Nehemiah chapter 10. Let's call this one We Will Not Neglect, because this week's lessons seem to spin around the theme of we versus me, meaning at the end of Nehemiah, we're going to get a chance to see the ways in which the people of Israel are going to collectively make some decisions and commitments that are going to help them overcome the mistakes they've already made in trying to resettle Israel. Whereas in the book of Esther, the next book of the Bible, me, or self-interest, is going to play a large role in the conflicts that we see developing in the first few chapters of the book of Esther. And so in this chapter, we're going to look at the way in which the last verse talks about the commitment that the people of Israel make to saying, we will not neglect the house of God, understanding that it's not just a building, but it is a central hub for them establishing and repairing their relationship with God when it's broken. And it's not just their relationship with God, but it was also a central hub for atoning for the breaks in their relationships with one another. And so it's more than just a building. It represents healthy relationships in the nation. And so 2 chapters before, in chapter 8, where in trying to establish a more healthy pattern moving forward in Israel, they are going to listen to the law for understanding. And in chapter 9, they're going to go beyond simply listening to the law for understanding to listening to the law and committing about a quarter of the day to acknowledging the ways in which, in spite of their successes, they have messed up their return to Israel. And so in chapter 10, they're going beyond understanding the law and confessing the ways in which they have messed up their return to Israel to committing to moving forward without the baggage of past mistakes. And so that's going to take the form of a covenant that is going to be sealed with the names of some of the leading men of Israel on it. First and foremost, Nehemiah, along with some of the priests, Levites, and chiefs of the people of Israel who are going to covenant along with those who have agreed to separate themselves from the people of the land. Not like the people of the land are simply less than because they are not of the lineage of Israel, but it's because they have consistently demonstrated the fact that even though they might have some things in common with the people of Israel, they are not completely committed to seeing Israel succeed. And so what the people of Israel are doing at this point is moving beyond understanding how they have had watered down results in their partnerships with the people of the land to setting healthy boundaries between themselves and the people of the land. And it's not just enough to put distance between themselves and the people of the land. The question is, what are they going to replace those relationships with? And so what they're going to do is pull together with those who are committed to accepting the full counsel of God so that they can move beyond having watered down results from accepting only a watered down version of the things that God is counseling them to do. Going back to something we mentioned all the way back in Genesis in the days of Noah, when it said Noah was at his best when he did all that God had commanded him to do, avoiding the watered down results of having a watered down commitment to accepting God's wisdom. Likewise, David, when he built Israel, overcoming the mistakes of King Saul, he was noted as doing or having a commitment to all of the things that God had called him to do. And beyond that, the great reformers like Jehoshaphat, or maybe even Ezekiel and Josiah, all showed a commitment to doing all. And so that is what the people are getting back to now that they've had enough time to grow exhausted of trying to have Israel reach its potential in partnership with the people of the land. And so they are going to stop forcing the relationships with, or stop trying to intermarry with people with whom they have some things in common, but with whom they really aren't on the same page about what Israel actually should be. And beyond that, they're going to stop working Saturdays to please the people of the land when God never required them to work Saturdays to get their work done. And that's my rephrasing of they're going to honor the Sabbath to keep it holy. But I phrase it like that because sometimes we can have pressure to work at times when we don't really have to work Saturday to get things done, but at times when we're simply doing it to impress the people around us. But beyond the things that they're committing not to do, there are some things that they're committing to do. First and foremost, they are recommitting to make sure that the house of God is fully supplied, but not just supplied with anything, but their first fruits, their firstborn, and the first of all the things that God has called them to give to make sure that it is functioning at its potential. Understanding that that concept of first fruits and firstborn and first really represents their best offering, understanding that they're asking God to bring them beyond the days where they're getting watered down results into the days where they're actually reaching their potential. And so they are committing not just to give, but to give their best in hopes of getting back to the days where God was actually making them reach their potential. And in bringing all of these things to the house of God, 3 times it's going to talk about the chambers of the house of God, which is going to be important in the last chapter of Nehemiah, Nehemiah 13, because there's somebody they're going to have to clear out of the chambers understanding again that Tobiah was one of the people of the land who had married into a position of influence in Israel. And in order for the people of Israel to move forward effectively, they're going to have to remove Tobiah, who had carved out a great individual space for himself, so that they can make room for the things that would be collectively stored for people who were dedicated to getting Israel back towards its potential. And so as Nehemiah moves towards its conclusion and brings Tobiah back to mind, recall, he's not just a person of the land. He was a person who found joy in seeing Israel exist as long as they were existing without genuinely succeeding. And so in order to move forward, once again, the people of Israel are going to have to move beyond realizing they need to set boundaries between themselves and the Tobiahs of the land, to actually committing, or in this chapter, covenanting, to putting effective boundaries between themselves and the people of the land who have actually found joy in seeing them exist without genuinely succeeding.